So what would a Marvel KO bracket look like? So, I went and compiled all the DC KO participants and made equivalents to, Marvel on who would be in their place in DC. So, you can tag any of your favorite creators, see or comment, see who you think would win this bracket. And this does have DC KO spoilers because, there is a person in the bracket that wasn't on advertising. So you'd have to read the book to know that. So, first up, Superman, Captain America. There's obviously a lot of Superman-esque characters in Marvel like Sentry or Gladiator, but need Cap as a symbol because Marvel's big three aren't actually here. Next up, we got Giganta, so we're putting in Titania. So Cap, you might be screwed. Sorry about that. Then for Captain Atom, we're putting in Captain Marvel. For Power Girl, we're putting in Hyperion because you may think that's odd one, but I didn't really have much parallels I could think of for Power Girl, especially since Supergirl was already here. But Power Girl and Hyperion are both individuals that have had, confusing past or alternate versions from different Earths to an extent. So, next for Guy Gardner, we're putting in Nova Prime. I know technically Guy is in the main Lantern, so most would think Sam, but next up we got Firestorm, who I'm putting in for Fire Lord, and Nova fighting Fire Lord would be clean. So, Jay Garrick, we're getting Quicksilver, Flash Quicksilver. Cheetah, putting in Tigra. And of course, Aquaman is Namor, obviously. King Shark's Tiger Shark, and we know Namor's gonna put belt on him. Then Connor Hawk, we got Kate Bishop as Hawkeye's sidekick. Over Hawkman, we got Moon Knight, as the Egyptian individual with, well, I guess Hawkman does have the alien stuff, but a multiple identity individual with Egyptian ties to an extent. So then next up, we got who's next up? We got Lex. So we got Norman Osborn, Green Goblin for Lex. And for Black Lightning, I put in Luke Cage because I think they have fair similarities. And then we got Etrigan, who I put in Damon Hellstrom. I know a lot of y'all would have thought Ghost Rider, but I got plans for him. And then Supergirl, we put in Thor Girl, Miss Tareen, none of that Jane stuff. Then next up, we got Wonder Woman, so we got Thor. Then for Starro, I put the Brood, which there's probably an alien race that fits Starro better than the Brood in Marvel, but that was the first thing to keep in mind. So next up, we got Lobo. That's where I put Ghost Rider, the bounty hunter with chains. And up against him, we got Plastic Man, who, most would think Mr. Fantastic, but obviously he'd get waxed by Ghost Rider. So I needed someone strong, someone that's kind of goofy, but super busted and has a criminal past. So, Jamie Braddock, who, most of you probably don't know. He's the brother of Psylocke, not Captain Britain, the other one, who's, super strong reality warper. Because we don't got any mutants so far, so needed to put one in there. So yep, after him we got Swamp Thing, obviously Man Thing. Vixen, we got Reptile. I mean, most would probably think of Reptile as an alternate for Beast Boy, but Beast Boy ain't really here, so I'm using him for Vixen because I couldn't really think of any alternates for her. And then next up we got Cyborg, so I put in War Machine. I was almost gonna put an Iron Man, but I didn't for a reason. Then next up we got Black Widow in the next place where Batwoman was. Next to this is where the spoiler comes in, because if you've seen DCKO, you know that it's not actually Batman in this slide, it's Joker. So I put in Carnage. Then next up we got Star Sapphire. So we needed someone that's, I guess, an individual that's had a complicated on again, off again, heroic, anti-hero, villainous love interest with a hero. So Amora the Enchantress. Then Red Hood, obviously Winter Soldier. Damian, I put in Quentin Quire because he's kind of a little dickhead like Damian. And then Zatanna, put in Wanda because the Wanda fans be moving, so obviously be entertaining to put her up in here. Then Big Barda, I put in Gamora, and for those wondering how the hell Gamora got to Big Barda, alien individuals both raised by tyrants to be killers in their empire that both rebelled and end up getting romantic ties to male heroines. So yeah, and then for Harley, I put in Gwenpool. Most thought Deadpool, I thought Gwenpool was a little more similar. And then, last up was Metamorpho, and I put in McGann, from Excalibur with Captain Britain. I know most of you would have thought Absorbing Man, and I thought of him too, but I like McGann more. And also need some more mutant rep because we barely got any of that. So yeah, that's the roster. Comment below who you think wins or anyone you would have swapped.